Thank you for attending the Week of Kindness. Coming up next is another powerful, impactful, amazing speaker. Get your notepad out, get your pen. Let's get ready and enjoy.
All this movie magic's going, hey, Joy!
It worked.
Yay, something worked today.
I know.
All right, everyone. So, you even have resilience on the title of what you're talking about today. But Joy, where are you from? What city are you located?
I'm in Northern Virginia.
Oh, nice. All right, so
Yeah.
you're Eastern. So you're actually it's a little bit later for you than it is for me.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Austin, Texas right now.
Oh,
But
nice. I'm from
the thing,
Texas.
are you really from
I
where?
am.
I knew
Paris.
I loved you for a reason.
Of course. Yeah, by Dallas.
Oh, you're a Yankee.
Oi, oi, oi.
No, it's funny because people used to say, okay, I'm from South Texas. And then they'd say, oh, Houston. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
about 5.5 hours south of Houston. And Dallas was a 12-hour drive for us. And
So you're down by
yeah,
Brownsville. Yeah.
exactly. McAllen,
Oh,
Mission,
yeah, yeah.
Texas, is where I was born. Yeah.
That'll do it.
See, only
Well,
people from Texas know these cities. Well, Joy, how did you end up in West Virginia?
so I'm in Northern Virginia. So I
Northern
work for
Virginia.
United Airlines out at the Dulles Airport. I'm a
Uh-huh.
airport operations manager.
Oh my goodness, you're
So,
amazing.
yeah.
But that kind of falls into your story, doesn't it?
A little bit. Yes, it has a strange course of events. Yes.
Well, you know what? Without further ado, Lisa, I would love to give Joy the stage. Welcome to the Week of Kindness and Gratitude, and I'm super um, full of gratitude that you're here with us. So thank you so much for picking the Week of Kindness as one of your platforms. And you guys listen closely because we want to support Joy in anything she does. And you've got my personal referral to help out with her new company and everything she's doing for people. Go ahead, Joy.
All right. So my talk today is on lessons in resilience, and I won't share the second half, but you can probably already read it. Um, the story starts out. I'm 1,500 feet in the air, flying through the air, holding my door shut as our small four-seater airplane is careening through the air as if it's being tossed by a bowl of salad. We had been flying through perfectly clear weather, and then all of a sudden we had hit smoke. And at the same time we hit smoke, we were in a mountain valley with tops of about 5,000 feet. And again, we're at what, 1,500 feet, which doesn't equal a good recipe for survival. The pilot was my friend's uncle. He had been flying that route for 20 to 25 years. We were flying from one of their wilderness properties up to Anchorage, Alaska. It was in the middle of the summer, beautiful, gorgeous day. And what had started as a beautiful, gorgeous day quickly turned into a disaster. I was holding my door closed because all the terrain avoidance we could see, or I'm sorry, there was smoke everywhere. We couldn't see anything. A wildfire about 300 miles away had blown smoke into the valley, and we couldn't even see our hand in front of our face. It was as if you put your face into a bowl of cream of mushroom soup. That's how much you could see. Our collision avoidance was looking outside for trees. So the pilot said, hey, just look outside and tell me if you see anything. The alarms were going off, terrain, pull up, as he tried everything he possibly could. We hit turbulence, and that's what popped our plane up. And the last thing I remember is seeing what looked like possibly the side of a mountain as the pilot pulled up so hard we jerked way up in the sky and fell out of the sky. And what I remember feeling at that moment was this overwhelming sense of peace, of you're gonna be okay. When I knew that I should have been screaming my very head off the whole entire time. Because that morning, I woke up as a 28-year-old successful aviation professional. I'm a pilot as well. I have my private pilot's license. I've been involved in aviation now for 10 years, and I was a supervisor at an airline, had just put in to be a manager, and was well on my way corporately to climb the ladder. I was getting my master's degree. I had just finished taking a statistics class, which Those of you who like statistics, that's great for you. I almost would rather crash another plane than take statistics. Yeah, I did not like it. I hated that class. But I love the master's program. I was doing everything I possibly could to increase what I was doing. Everything was working out as well. Like climbing the ladder, own a house in Virginia. It's great. My best friend was out with me. She was also my housemate. And we had been having a good time with her aunt and uncle. Just one of the most peaceful, relaxing days that quickly turned from everything going right to absolutely nothing going right at all. I woke up, I don't know how long later. I could still hear the instruments of the airplane buzzing down, coming to a close. And I had to like shake my head and wake myself up. And all I could see was dirt and broken glass and twisted metal. And what happened was our plane had stalled, which those of you in aviation know that means there's no more air under the wings to keep it up. It just simply falls from the sky, and had done a loop and hit the mountain pretty much square on the nose. The engine was buried in the mountain. I couldn't see it. All I could see was the twisted metal picking up in front of me. I looked around to assess what had changed. What had happened? What was no one expecting in this situation? What could I do? I noticed behind me, my best friend and her aunt had passed away. They probably blissfully did not even know what hit them. The pilot, at me yelling at them multiple times, woke up, but he was in very poor condition. So I'm the only one that's capable of getting us out, getting to safety, getting help. I reached up my arm to be able to push that door open, the same one I had been holding closed with all my life. Now I wanted to push open with all my life. And as I reached up to open it, my arm goes and does this, and was almost completely disconnected from the rest of my body. But did you know that you can control your muscles by just looking at your hand? So I looked at my hand and I walked my fingers up the dashboard, over the windshield area and around the framework to, the strong portion of my arm that was still connected, and pulled myself up. And I did that about 4 times, trying to get out the door of that airplane to roll down the mountain and get help. And it was to no avail. Every time it was just making me weaker and weaker, and I was not getting out. I found out what I thought at the time. My legs were trapped. So even if I could get myself out, my legs had been trapped by the engine that was stuck in the mountain. And I realized the only thing I could do at the time was rest. There was an emergency locator beacon going off. Again, back to the whole aviation pilot. I knew what that was, and that meant someone would eventually hear that beacon and send help. But we were in the Alaska wilderness in a mountain valley, so it's going to take a long time. I did what any one of you would do, and I took a nap. I just leaned over and took a nap. About 4 hours later, I hear a helicopter come over and woke me up. It passed over about 3 times until it seemed to stay in the area a little bit longer. I waited a few more moments, and I started hearing brush crunching. And so I called out, "Help, there's still people alive," thinking they would look at this pile of twisted metal and think, "Whew, that's a lost cause." Around the corner on the right-hand side, walked Brian with the National Guard. And he just leans down and he goes, "Hello, ma'am, we're with the National Guard. We're here to get you out." And in my head, I'm like, I gotta be in a movie. Like, what is going on? But then my aviation brain kicked in again and said, "No, keep it to business. This is what you gotta do." So I said, "Hey, my name is Joy. The 2 in the back have passed away. The pilot is still alive, but severely injured. I have a broken arm, maybe a broken wrist, and my legs are trapped." And I gave him my turnover. Like, "My shift is over. It's yours now." And he quickly just kind of shook his head like, "What in the world? Okay, great." Turned out they were pararescuemen. They were what are known as PJs. They jump out of helicopters, C-130s, anything else, as medics capable of doing anything and everything. And they had jumped out of a Pavehawk helicopter as part of the 212 up in Alaska and took me to the hospital. I woke up about 5 days later. I had a pretty good dose of ketamine. And when I woke up, I realized everything was a lot worse than what I had expected. I had not only broken my elbow and my wrist, I had broken my back. My legs were not pinched. They were paralyzed. I could not walk. I couldn't move my legs hardly at all. I had also broken my femur. I broke a rib. I punctured a lung, broke both of my ankles, shattered them actually, and almost had lost my left leg. All this to say, I had not expected any of that. I had to eat that elephant bit by bit. It took a lot to kind of process all of those things. But as Tony was saying, she thought herself the queen of resilience, which I'm sure she was. And it's stories like hers that really brought me through learning about how I can cope, how I can keep everything going. Also, knowing that my nerves work. If I can just stare at my feet like I stared at my hands and will them to get back to work. I had 4 spinal cord tears. Those basically meant it wasn't a cut. A spinal cord cut would have meant that I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to walk again. A spinal cord tear meant, well, we don't know if you're going to walk again. You may not. It depends on how your body decides to go. And so I decided in myself that my body was going to walk again. Before that, I was a dancer. I did lots of social dancing, mostly salsa, bachata, Latin sort of dancing, ballroom dancing. That's what I love. That was my hobby and my outlet. And I was not going to let that just be ripped away from me just because we hit smoke. I was going to dance again. It took 6 weeks in the Alaskan hospital before I was medevaced down to Texas, where my family lived, and spent another 2.5 months in the hospital there with more surgeries and physical therapy and occupational therapy. While I was there, one of the surgeons really didn't believe I would ever walk again. With my crushed left ankle, it took lots of reconstructive work, and quite honestly, I'm still dealing with that. But the doctor didn't seem to think it was ever going to work. He would tell me, all right, let's just put the rod in the ankle. It'll fix it at a 90-degree position, and you'll be good to go. Basically, I can sign the dotted line and get you out of here. And I thought, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm going to dance again. I need my ankle. I just bought a new pair of heels. But he didn't quite believe me. So I decided I would make him believe me. And one day he walked into my room, goes, hey, how's everything going? I said, oh, it's pretty good. I can move my leg now, my right leg. And he goes, oh, really? You can? I was like, yeah, I can. He goes, all right, show me. So I'm laying in bed, right? Completely flat, horizontal. And I kicked up my leg as far as I could, and it went up maybe 2 inches. And his eyes kind of got this little, oh. He goes, okay. And puts his hand over my foot and goes, now kick it. And so I cranked my leg up as hard as I could, and I kicked up a little bit higher, maybe 4 inches now. And his eyes just kind of were like, all right, now we're cooking with grease. And he, of course, as a surgeon, he can't be outdone or anything of that sort. So he puts his hand way up here and goes, all right, now kick it. And I, of course, tried to kick it again and went up maybe 5 or 6 inches that time. But he walked out of that room and went to see my physical therapist and said, did you know what she could do? My physical therapist said, yeah, we've been working on it the whole week. It was moments like those where I realized there were people like my physical therapist who had been, yeah, she's going to walk. She's going to do it again. And there were those like my orthopedic surgeon who said, it's never going to happen. I had to choose which voice I wanted to listen to and which voice I would take into consideration and prove wrong. It took me 1 year before I was able to go back to work. But 1 year after crashing that plane into the side of a mountain, experiencing all of the breaks and all of the loss, I walked back into work. 2 years later, I went dancing again. And I needed a couple ice packs afterwards, but it was totally worth it. And I was able to go and achieve my goal of walking and dancing again. I like to share my story with you guys, with other people, anyone, to let you guys know that resilience is possible. It takes a couple different steps. It takes a lot of work. It takes lots of stories of different people who have done amazing, amazing feats to let you know that you're able to bounce back. Resilience to me, I picture as like an elastic rubber band where it constantly, it stretches out, but then it always comes back to its same shape. It might be in a different position. It might be across the room now, but it's in its same shape. It's able to bounce back because it knows what it is. It's a rubber band. So in a human form, being able to bounce back to who you are. Who I was never really changed. Who I was deep down inside, my thought process, my emotions, they changed a little bit, but for the most part, they were able to come back to a place that was full of more kindness, full of greater gratitude for the things that I had been given in life, for that calm, peaceful knowing of you're going to be okay. that was combated by many, many repeated sayings of what part of any of this is okay. But knowing that I am okay. I can walk. I'm alive. I'm able to share my story with people and encourage them. So 3 points, lessons in resilience, that I would love to share with you guys to hopefully give you just a couple little things to be able to remember and process by for resilience. The first one is my absolute favorite. It's called grounded optimism. So, grounded optimism is not a pie in the sky sort of approach to life. It's not saying everything is great and wonderful 100% of the time. Grounded optimism is having a positive perspective, positive outlook with a practical perspective. It's being positive about life and about the effects of things and how everything is going to work out, but also keeping that practical perspective of the facts of life. Life is hard, life is tough, and a lot of times it'll try to kick you to the ground. But if you let that affect your positive outlook, you're losing sight of the grounded optimism. Grounded optimism goes, I have 4 spinal cord tears. Okay, what's that mean? Let me understand this a little bit better. I talked to my neurosurgeon multiple times, and every time he would say, your body has up to 5 years to get back spinal cord healing. You have the first year, you'll get the most return of function back. And up to 5 years later, you could still get more function back. And instead of going, this is never going to work, my spinal cord's torn in 4 places. Like my vertebrae went from this to that pretty much. I could have done that, but instead I kept that positive outlook and went, okay, this is going to be a long, hard road. I'm going to have to really fight. And guess what? I did it. Yes, I still have residual spinal cord damage, but a lot of that is overcome and I'm able to find different things to do it. So try to maintain a positive outlook with a practical perspective. When you wake up in the hospital or you wake up in the morning and things are not going the way you need them to go, maintain that practical perspective of what's next. What do I need to do to make myself work, cope, fill in the blank of whatever it is you need to do, and then have a positive outlook. What's something that may be going right? What's something that's going well in your life? In those days, there weren't a lot of things that were going very great other than the fact that I simply was alive. That was the only real positive outlook. And the fact that I had lots of family and I had lots of coworkers supporting me, which was an amazing, amazing mental assistance in that aspect. If you lose the outlook on life, you lose the ability to be resilient, that ability to bounce back. The positive outlook, yeah, sometimes you have to find the tiniest little thing, and sometimes it's a beautiful sunrise that just really literally blows you away. But when you have a positive outlook, then you're able to have that resilience and be able to pull yourself back from the negative feelings, the pain, the anguish, the loss, and pull yourself back into that status quo of a rubber band. The second point I have on being resilient is plan for weakness. A lot of times I don't like to think that I'm weak at all. I like to think I could still do lots of different things and I'm capable of doing everything. But I've had to start realizing that weakness is inevitable. We're always going to have weakness in our life. No matter how much we go to the gym, no matter how much we mentally prepare or go to school or fill in the blank, there's going to be weakness in our life. It's how we react to that changes things. I mentioned earlier that I'm still dealing with a left foot issue. That same doctor that I had to prove that I was going to walk again ended up putting a rod in my ankle so that I could start walking. However, last year, which would have been 3 years since the accident, that rod broke. Somehow I broke a titanium rod. I don't know how. It broke, and now I'm in the middle of doing reconstructive surgery. I've had 2 previous surgeries with 1 more surgery next week. That will be hopefully finishing the last of my surgeries. But again, I'm not holding my hopes up too high. What I had to learn in those was there's going to be times of weakness. You can have emergency weakness, which is when the initial plane crash happened. I was not expecting that. That was completely out of the blue emergency. And you can also have planned for weaknesses, which when I found out that my ankle was broken yet again, and it wasn't the bone that was broken, it was a metal rod, I knew I had 3 weeks to prepare for everything. I decided to do the best I possibly could. make myself as prepared as possible. I began cleaning the house. I bought a refrigerator to go put upstairs in my room, so I made sure that I had food and water and everything like that. I have a tendency for low blood sugar and low blood pressure. And so I knew that that was a weakness that I would very likely encounter, and I prepared for it. I was ready to go. I even went and got a massage before because I knew I was going to be weak afterwards. And so I was going to get as strong as I possibly could. By planning for weakness, you're not signing yourself up for failure. You're not saying I am a failure and so I can't do this. You're saying I'm going to make myself as strong as possible. So think of something if you work in a company, or if you don't, think of different things that could come up that could throw you off your axis. If there's a potential change coming, look for ways that you may prepare for failure, prepare for change, the inevitable. Say your Wi-Fi goes out. Now what are you going to do? You have kids to entertain. Plan for weakness in ways that will take care of that. So, because weakness is inevitable, we're going to have it. I deeply, deeply hope none of you have to deal with the different types of physical weaknesses that I do, but I know we all have those sorts of struggles. There have been times that I woke up and I didn't know if I was going to get out of the house on time. So, understanding the fact that I have these limitations and these problems and these weaknesses, instead of still trying to complete my long list of things to do before I get out and get to work, I decide to shorten them. Because guess what? I'm not going to make it. It's also being honest and truthful with yourself. The third step, which is another favorite, this is honestly one of my favorite talks, is become unlimited. Becoming unlimited realizes that you have limitations in your life, but it's not letting those limitations define who you are. When I was in the hospital with the same orthopedic doctor, I had lots of negative things coming at me when I had the physical therapy. The physical therapist was amazing. She always believed I would walk again, but all of her efforts and trials of doing things generally just brought lots of pain and additional weaknesses, and the deepening realization that I am not going to be as strong as I was. My occupational therapist, there's so many OTs and ODs and everything in medicine. She would come up to me and say, "Oh, we're going to get you measured for a wheelchair." And in my mind, I said, wheelchair equals defeat. If I do this, that means I'm signing the dotted line and throwing my life away. But she had to explain to me, wheelchair is not accepting defeat. A wheelchair is a tool. So instead of looking at crutches or wheelchair as signing away my rights and being completely limited in everything that I could possibly do, I begin to change my perspective and become unlimited in my mind and how I viewed things, knowing full well that I have limitations in my body. My ankles don't move. But instead of wearing heels to go dancing, now I wear tennis shoes. And no one can say anything. It's great. But becoming unlimited is realizing your limitations and finding ways to make those limitations not restrict you. She explained to me how a wheelchair could be a tool in that I might be able to walk into a small grocery store and get all of my normal everyday things done and get home and be fine. But what if I wanted to actually enjoy a day at the mall with friends? What if I wanted to go on a low level hike, or I wanted to spend time with someone for a long period of time? I would be exhausted if I did that in and of myself. If I didn't have the wheelchair, I would not be able to spend time with my friends. And I realized that's how the wheelchair is a tool. No, it's not saying that I'm a failure. It's not saying I'm defeated. It's saying this is something that is going to make me completely unlimited. So I encourage you to find those limitations in your life that might be making you feel like a failure, might be making you think, I can't do this. I can't bounce back and become that rubber band that I need to be. I've been on medical leave for about 5 months, and it's starting to get a little bit depressing. But I have to remind myself this is necessary. If I want to recover and become as unlimited as I possibly can, I need to take that time to recover. And the time will come when I'm back at work, when I'm able to direct airport. I don't direct the traffic, I direct the operations of it. That's confusing, whole nother story. But becoming unlimited is about realizing what the facts are, what you have to deal with, how you can find some tools to be able to buck up those things, and truly make yourself unlimited. Resilience is about getting back to that status quo. And like I said, 1 year after I had that accident, I walked back into work. And 2 years later, I went dancing. And 3 years later, I was back in surgery. And hopefully, 4 years later, I will be dancing again. That's my plan. So it's not letting it get you down, it's keeping up the momentum. It's having that resilience to be able to get back to where you are at peace in yourself and where you're able to view life through a lens of gratitude, which is one reason I do like this summit, is being able to be grateful for the things in your life that make you a stronger and better and more agile person. Resilience, again, think of a rubber band. I love rubber bands. They're so much fun. If you shoot them across the room, they've been displaced. They're probably ticked off that you moved them out of their nice, comfortable drawer and just shot them across the room at some person. But what they don't know is they're a little bit further in their life now and they have a little bit more experience. So think of yourself as a rubber band. How can you practice grounded optimism and know where you are in your life and maintain a positive outlook with a practical perspective? Plan for any weaknesses that may be coming up in the future or may be coming up soon. And how can you prepare for those so that when they do come, the impact is very minimal? And become unlimited. It's a mindset. It's something that takes things that are being thrown at you or what other people are saying, and you've put them through that lens of, is this factual? Is it true? Does it benefit me? How can I become unlimited in my life? Thank you guys for the opportunity to talk to you. I do have my story. It's available as a free gift. You can go download it. I believe they have the link there, but if they don't, it's joycooperpilot.com/story. And you can go download it for free there. I love getting to talk to you guys. If you have any other questions, you can also contact me there at that website, joycooperpilot.com. And that's what I've got.
Oh my gosh, Joy. You gave me, when I used to host auditions for the big talent shows that you've seen in both English and Spanish, somebody would always come up, and no matter what they look like, and during the auditions, I would get goosebumps. And you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do it too.
Boy, you gave me about 3 of them, 3 sets of
Uh-oh.
goosebumps.
Thank you.
Your story is amazing. It's definitely a movie. Definitely a movie. We got to turn that into something. But I also see you on TEDx stages, and I see you talking to children, and I see you talking to high schoolers and college kids who kind of forget how good they've got it. I mean,
Right?
it's
They
so
really
easy.
do.
It's so easy to forget in the midst of I don't have enough money, or it's raining, or it's really cold now, and what am I going to do? That
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that every day is meaningless if we just adopted a sense of kindness and gratitude. And I'm honored that you selected this summit. I love and I'm honored to have met you because you are an old soul, my friend. You are not a young
It's
girl.
true.
You are an angel, and
Thank
just taking every lesson that you come through and then coming back with a talk that's that good. Thank you. Thank
you. I
you. This is
appreciate it.
this is my pleasure. Guys, see, there's many kinds of talks. There's inspirational, motivational. You just saw a great example of that. There's educational. And then, of course, there's the speak to sell. And you've seen in this summit a little bit of everything. And Joy is able to work with you to help you to see the resilience factor to take her up on this gift. I can't wait to see it. Flying, falling, fighting, a pilot's memoir. Yep, we got to make this into a movie.
It'd be pretty epic.
I think so too. I do want to tell you that my sister had a diving accident when she was, I believe she was still in high school, so like 16 or 17, and she had ruptured she broke her back, and she was told after 3 surgeries and 2 spinal fusions and a tainted blood sample that gave her hepatitis during one of the surgeries. And so her whole life she was told, you're never going to walk again. You're never going to walk again. And then when she was walking, they said, you can't ever have children. You can't ever have children. And then when she had 2 kids,
Yep.
that was my big sister, and she ended up finally passing from cancer.
Oh,
But she was you remind me so much of her because she never let them tell her what she could do.
yep. You listen to the experts, but then you decide what you're going to believe.
It's true. Lisa, I'm in tears, so I know you've got to be.
Oh my goodness, that was just tremendous. And I am going to echo Tony that absolutely needs to be a movie, and it needs to be distributed globally.
Yeah.
That is just such an inspiration. Inspirational doesn't even scratch the surface.
It doesn't scratch the surface. I know.
Does not.
So, and it's so funny because I'm watching you talk and I'm like, you're this little young thing with this giant.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that's just the surface.
Yeah.
That's just the bullet points.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. When you were putting all this together, who was your mentor? Who taught you how to put the story together the way you did? Because I'm as someone who tears things apart and puts them back together, they did a heck of a job.
Yes, they did. It's Matt Browning with The Leading Voice. So I don't know if you've heard of him, but yeah.
Well, Matt, our hats off to you and a jiggle of the earrings because you did great.
Absolutely.
I'll let him know you said that.
Please do. But more important, I'm super proud of you. I'm just beaming. I'm so proud of you. Thank you again for being on the Week of Kindness and Gratitude. Any last words you want to give our folks out there? Because I just tweeted you and told people they don't watch that, they're going to be on my bad side. So
yikes. Okay. Well, last words, don't be on Tony's bad side. I have a feeling it's a bad place to be. No, just try to have that grounded optimism sort of look. I mean, hopefully no one has to experience what I had to experience, and it's less quote unquote, but also what I have learned is we're all given things that we have to work through. So you may not have a plane crash to work through. You may have something that you think is smaller, but guess what? It's not. It's because that's what you are given to work through right now. And the same steps apply whether you've been in a plane crash or you stub your toe. Maybe a little bit less on the stub your toe portion, but that's the concept I'd love to get across is every one of us are going through our own trial. It doesn't negate or glorify anyone else's issues that they're going through. So take a deep breath and get that practical perspective.
I do need to ask you one thing because your painting behind you, as you were talking, just came more and more and more every time I look at it to life. And it was, tell me the story of the painting behind you.
There really isn't a story. I just love it. It's France. Here, I'll tip it up. You can see it's France.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Lisa.
So I love traveling, airlines, definitely.
Love it. All right, guys. Lisa, what do we have coming up next? And Joy, I just love you. I knew from the moment I first saw you. I didn't even know why, but yes. Thank you so much for gracing our stage.
Wow. I hope you enjoyed that just as much as I did. Thank you so much for all of that great information. Hey, we're not done yet, so just relax. We're going to continue on with our next speaker in just a few moments.